really exciting project that could be. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Sean Boyd. I think he's going to give us an overview of his team and who's working on this, and overview of the project, and we'll see where this goes. So, Sean?
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. As Mayor said, one of our objectives was to be here today to give an overall update on this project. We think transparency is critical to a project like this for the community, for the city administration, for the county, everyone involved. And our goal from day one, when we announced we'd like to partner with the city of Gering to build this project, was to ensure we have that level of transparency. So I'll talk a little bit about who I am, who the Chickasaw Nation is, who Global Gaming Nebraska is, our overall subsidiary structure, just to ensure there's complete understanding around who we are, why we're here, talk about what we've been doing in Lincoln, give some updates on the state of Nebraska process as a whole as well relative to this project and the new gaming industry that was voted on just a year ago now, which is hard to believe it's been a year. So, Sean Boyd, and I have two hats. I work for the Chickasaw Nation out of Oklahoma, and I reside in Norman, Oklahoma, and we operate businesses in a 13-county area in Oklahoma that are federally recognized as the Chickasaw Reservation. Just recently, the McGirt case affirmed that, actually, for Oklahoma tribes. Inside that territory, we have sovereignty. So I operate our businesses in those 13 counties, which we'll talk about what those businesses are here shortly. When we leave those 13 counties, we use an LLC structure that does not carry sovereignty with it. So we no longer are Sweden when we leave those 13 counties. We are up here as a commercial entity, which we have registered in the state of Nebraska as Global Gaming Nebraska. So I'm the president of Global Gaming Nebraska, and I have a team. They're back in Oklahoma today. They'll be up here relative to this project for certain needs that ranges from legal, finance, environmental study, everything that would go into a project like this. We have teams that have developed many of projects just like this in Oklahoma as well as in Dallas, and I'll talk about that as well. So one of the mysteries and one of the things we've heard about tribes in Oklahoma and Nebraska are these tribes might be coming to build tribal casinos in Nebraska. Well, that's not the case. We're a commercial LLC registered entity in Nebraska, just like any other developer would be here in the state of Nebraska. And I think if you looked up and researched the Chickasaw Nation's history, you'll find a rich history of partnering with communities. A good job from our perspective, both establishing authorization of having racetracks be the critical foundation of casinos. They allowed the Racing Commission to become the Racing and Gaming Commission for the state of Nebraska. And then they put the tax structure in place with the last piece of legislation that tied everything back together. So as we're in Lincoln and throughout the rest of the state, there are some, I don't know whether they're critical or not, but they think you might, as a state, have 20 plus casinos that are going to pop up. I can assure you in our meetings with both the commission and the legislature, the intent of this legislation was to have a correct number of tracks that are sustainable for the state of Nebraska. I'm happy to answer questions of what I think that might be. I think it's between 8 and 10 is what our modeling shows. There are 6 existing tracks, as you may know, in the state of Nebraska. Those 6 existing tracks are very likely to receive a gaming license to build a casino at those 6 existing tracks. They would continue to follow all the racing statutes for the state of Nebraska to operate a racetrack, and then there'll be new rules that'll be developed around the formation and operation of a casino. That doesn't include Western Nebraska, Central or Western Nebraska. So we have, as our group, with Brian Becker, who I'll introduce, and he'll talk about his history and horse racing in Nebraska. Very excited to have Brian that we've been able to partner with. We have applications in North Platte and in Gering both. We'll visit our modeling and why those two don't compete. But there is tax revenue for the state of Nebraska for the Property Tax Relief Fund and for these cities and counties that would not be harvested whatsoever if these weren't built. So if for whatever reason the state decided there might be 6, only the 6 existing, that means Western Nebraska would not have this opportunity. We're advocating for expansion. We've had favorable eyes and ears on expansion above and beyond the 6, but we also don't think there should be 20. And I don't think anyone in the legislature necessarily would advocate that there should be that many as well. So here in Gering, you can expect 150 plus new jobs. These are quality jobs, indoor jobs. I'm very thankful. We operate some non-smoking casinos and we operate smoking casinos. Nebraska is going to be non-smoking, so very excited about that. I think it's a great opportunity for those jobs and indoor non-smoking jobs, which equates to over $4.5 million of annual payroll. And then we would start as a quarter horse track. So the racetrack would run quarter horses up to 12 days annually. Today the statute says you only have to run one race, one day, at any track of the 6 existing tracks to maintain your racing license. There's likely going to potentially be some amendment to that at the state level, that they will continue to define the minimum number of races or days you have to run. But we believe Gering could have up to 12 days annually, likely in June and July as a summer activity for this city, but we would work with the city and state and others to make sure we have the right timing on those races. Quarter horse racing happens anywhere for us in Dallas and in Oklahoma City from April all the way until December. So there's plenty of time throughout a calendar, especially with favorable weather conditions for most of the year here, to look at that schedule. And Brian will talk more about quarter horse racing and its rich history here in Nebraska. And then we have a commitment to utilize local suppliers. We do that everywhere we go. We like to work with Nebraska-owned companies, contractors, suppliers into an ecosystem, as you can imagine, like a casino, are abundant. Everything from the bread that gets delivered to the restaurant to the cleaning supplies and the paper goods. And there's a high utilization inside of a casino environment of goods that'll come from local suppliers. So I've been asked even this morning to talk a little bit about why Gering? Why did we select Gering and Scottsbluff County as an opportunity? So we have formed an algorithmic-based model called the gravity model that we own proprietarily, we the Chickasaw Nation. And when we build gaming facilities, we use the inputs into this model to determine ultimately what the sustainability and the viability of a casino would be. And that comes in the output of gross gaming revenue, or GGR as you might hear it called. That number comes out of our gravity model to tell us, is this a good place to build? Is there enough density within the population? Along with traffic and inroads into that population as well are factored in. Not just drive time, but the actual roads themselves. We rate those roads on a scale in this algorithm to ultimately determine the viability. And what we determined is this is an extremely viable opportunity here in western Nebraska in the Panhandle. 55+% of the visitation you could expect to be coming from out of state. So it's new money into the state of Nebraska, into the county, in the form of restaurants, hotel stays, other goods purchases, in addition to the revenue that would come from this facility. And we use a 125-mile radius. We can sometimes take the model wider, but it gets a little less efficient, so we really hone in on 125 miles. And there's 1.03 million people residing within 125 miles of where we sit today. It's also had 15+% growth over the last 10 years, which is comparable to a lot of other jurisdictions and cities. It's a large number. And when you consider most populations grow 1 to 3% over that same time period. So the roads from Cheyenne and northern Colorado are very favorable for Gering. As you can see here, the blue, the darker the density on this map, the more highly likely that that population would find this entertainment venue attractive. The further you get away, it gets a little lighter blue, and we account for just a slight bit of that attractiveness. That starts right there in Cheyenne and all along the eastern slope there of Wyoming as well, coming into this area, both from the south and from the north of Scottsbluff as well. We see attractive opportunities there. As you can imagine, when you get into rural areas, there's less entertainment options as a whole. So an entertainment venue such as this will drive that traffic into the city. I'll just touch on it's been said, there's no application competing with Gering at this point. It has been said that there might be one from a town south of Gering at this point. And our commitment is to advocate for this city and to work with this city, its administration, all of the elected officials in this city, as well as the community at large, to advocate for Gering. And we believe the infrastructure in Scottsbluff County and in the city of Gering warrants a facility like this, whereas maybe some competing cities in the area aren't quite where Gering is at this point, and we think that's critical to a project. So I mentioned the Chickasaw Nation. We operate 23 casinos. We have over 22,000 slot machines, or electronic games as we like to call them. We operate 5 hotels, 9 convenience stores, over 30 restaurants, retail outlets in every single one of our casino properties, multiple retail at some of them. We have 2 18-hole golf courses. This picture right here is WinStar World Casino and Resort. It's actually the largest casino in the world, and we operate that in a little town called Thackerville, Oklahoma, which is right on the Red River, just where Dallas, Texas, North Texas crosses into Oklahoma. We have an RV park at that location. And then from a diversified business portfolio, the nation has always charged us with continuing diversification. We have manufacturing. The one that I always like to point out is Bedray Chocolates. We have a nice Willy Wonka chocolate factory along I-35. Truly, we produce chocolate, pack it, ship it to stores, and distribute it throughout the region. We own 6 radio stations that we operate out of Ada, Oklahoma. We own and operate a digital marketing and media services agency, a janitorial services company, and then many different medical and optical services throughout southern Oklahoma. Then who is the LLC? So Global Gaming Solutions. I may have to draw a chart here at the end if anybody needs that in the media, but Global Gaming Nebraska is a subsidiary of Global Gaming Solutions, which is a subsidiary of the Chickasaw Nation. So Global Gaming Solutions is a wholly owned subsidiary, again, Oklahoma and Texas registered LLC. And we operate Remington Park and Casino, which those in the state and the horse racing industry, many have been to and heard of. We're going to have over 117 days of racing this year at Remington. And almost half of those races are quarter horse races. So a very viable quarter horse racing in Oklahoma and in Texas. Quarter horse racing and racing as a whole in your region, if you were to say Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas doesn't have much, and Nebraska has been dying. And really the way the legislature again thought about this is to grow horse racing, you need the viability of a casino to have the revenue to drive the breeds growing and the purses growing for the horses that run. Well, we do that in Remington, and we do it in Lone Star Park in Grand Prairie, Texas, which is essentially Dallas. Our horse track in Dallas, Lone Star Park, is really close to AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play. And again, almost half of our races are quarter horse races. So we'll race 76 days this year. We have a casino at Remington Park. We do not at Lone Star Park because Texas has not legislated gaming legally yet. So we don't operate any casinos there at Lone Star Park. We also operate 2 casinos in other areas of Oklahoma, Golden Mesa Casino and Fancy Dance Casino. I did not name that one. Though it does just fine. Guyman, Oklahoma is in the panhandle of Oklahoma, so very similar to the panhandle of Nebraska. And in fact, just to tell a short story, we were told by our vendor partners, so the folks that bring in the slot machines, the ATMs, all of it, listen, we're only doing this because it's the Chickasaw Nation. We would not go ever support building a casino in Guyman, Oklahoma. But our gravity model said otherwise, and that was 3 years ago. We're actually going to expand that facility in the next year to add twice the amount of casino floor, a hotel, a convention center, and potentially further expansion as well. And that's because in that 125-mile radius, you have the panhandle of Texas. So we are bringing revenue up from Amarillo, West Texas, into Guyman, Oklahoma, and it's been a great story for us. And that's literally the model that we plan to replicate here. So again, Global Gaming Nebraska is the Gering operation partner. A few pictures here just to show you guys our operations. This is Remington Park. Lied to you. This is Lone Star Park. Very similar properties as you'll be able to tell here. So live racing began 117 days there, or 76 days, I'm sorry, with a 24/7 simulcast as well. Remington Park, a little bit larger, has a casino just inside that structure there as well. But you can see this is a much larger version, as you'll see in the renderings for Gering, of what we intend to build here, but very similar to what you would see here, just a smaller overall building. Indoor, air-conditioned, climate-controlled seating is very important, we think, as well as the ability for the fans to be out on the paddock watching racing on the outside who would like to be outside. These are going to be pictures of the casino box, that the exact box we would build here. Likely some different exterior just based on how our designers render this project, but you'll see we have replicated this box across multiple facilities. So this is one of ours called River Star Casino. A lot of stars. This is Salt Creek Casino. And each of these, very similar, porte-cochere, plenty of parking, overall very safe lighting, down LED lighting into the parking lots. All lighting has security built into it, so casinos have a very high regard for security and surveillance, along with what the Nebraska Racing and Gaming Commission is doing, which is setting the rules you abide by, which are very strict and important to this type of business from a surveillance standpoint. But overall, very attractive buildings. This is the Artesian Casino and Hotel. If we were to ever build an expansion, if this project grows over time, this is the type of hotel structure that we have built. This is in Sulphur, Oklahoma, which is, if you look on a map, very rural. But this is a boutique hotel that we operate in. Just wanted to show that during the holidays, we have a high regard for ensuring that there's great lighting and attractive facilities. We do a thing here called caroling at the Artesian. We have Santa Claus and multiple nights where we have reindeer, live reindeer doing reindeer sleigh rides for the kids around the town block. This is Riverwind Casino in Norman, where I live. This is right near the University of Oklahoma. This one has roughly 3,000 slot machines in it, whereas the River Star Megastar that I showed earlier, the exact size we have here, likely 600 slot machines inside of the facility. This is what we call Beats and Bites. We do this at 3 or 4 of our casinos, and we would love to think about doing this here if it was a partnership with the community. We know there's Five Rocks Amphitheater. We don't want to compete with that by any means, but we do outdoor food truck festivals with live entertainment for kids, bounce houses, work with the community to make sure it's a fun event. We do that during the summertime at our facilities in Oklahoma. This is just a piece of the world's largest casino. The aerial isn't the most attractive thing, so this is the image we typically use. This facility has 8,700 slot machines inside of it. And again, I referenced earlier, is on the border of Texas and Oklahoma. We're in an expansion project here right now. We have over 1,500 hotel rooms going to 1,800 hotel rooms here very soon. And we own and operate everything inside this facility. That's the pool that when the image was showed there earlier. We're building several more pools here soon at WinStar. Certainly welcome anyone to come see us anytime. It's a really neat property to see. It's 3/4 of a mile there.
Thank you. I've been doing this most of my life. I envision Nebraska to be one of the better states because Colorado's suffering right now, and there's 80,000 quarter horses in the state of Nebraska with 14,000 owners. If we only capture 10% of them owners, that's a big number.
Pretty good.
When you get about 10% of the quarter horses, you're looking at 8,000 head. I think we can pull a lot of horses out of Wyoming and Colorado to Nebraska. I'd like to see this more than 12 days. But until we get this breed program rolling, we're going to be sitting down there at 12. So I'm excited. My whole board's excited.
Maybe speak to how many Nebraska bred horses are needed for each race or each day of racing versus how horses might come in that are registered in Wyoming, Colorado, Oklahoma.
You have to run one Nebraska bred race a day. So if you're running 12 race days, every day you have to have a breed race. Well, there isn't enough horses in the state. Today. I think there's only about 15 of them. But if you drop them today, or in January of 22, they will be able to run in 24, late of 24, they'll be 2-year-olds. So every year, we'll gain that population.
And then the rest of the races get filled with?
Open horses from all over the United States. They'll come in from Oklahoma, Texas. So if we wanted to right now, we could run a walkover, which I don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's just doesn't look good.
Yeah, the demand the demand ultimately out of Wyoming, Colorado, Oklahoma has shown a great amount of interest in running in Nebraska.
Yes.
That's how Oklahoma's grown to date, is the breed program in Oklahoma got stronger and stronger and stronger every year. But horses come into Oklahoma to run specifically at Remington Park because the purses have grown. Yeah, we have 750 slot machines at Remington, that helps. So the revenue, and a percentage of that revenue that gets defined goes to drive horse racing and the purse and the breed money that these trainers and breeders find attractive.
You know, and we're committed to give not only the horse money, it's the mare and stallion owners, because if you don't give a good percentage there, nobody's gonna raise them. You know, that way, when them horses run, the mare owner and the stallion owner get a check every year. So it's a big program.
And so we've been asked, either in a community meeting or even at the state level, why would you not run thoroughbreds and quarter horses? Well, right out of the chute, even today, the thoroughbreds in their 5 tracks that they run at are struggling for numbers as well. So they need to see a growth within the thoroughbred program to sustain the tracks that they already run at. It's not that we don't want to run thoroughbreds. In the future, the thoroughbreds would, the quarter horses and thoroughbreds in every state do this. They just do. And they love each other, but they are raising 2 different horses and they're running 2 different races, and they all want the purse money to grow for their races. I believe that over time, much like you see in Oklahoma at a track, nearly 50% of the races might be thoroughbred and nearly 50% of the races might be quarter horses. You just have to see a growth in both breeds to be able to do that. And that's where you start to have quarter horse days and thoroughbred days at a track, whether it's in Omaha or in Gering.
Because it really doesn't work if you run so many quarter horse races a day and the rest thoroughbred, because you're splitting up the breed.
Yeah.
So you'll have thoroughbred, like in Iowa, they're running 7 thoroughbred races a day and 3 quarter horse. Well, the quarter horse people are suffering. You cannot run 3 races a day and make any money.
Yeah.
So it really needs to be separate.
Yeah.
Quarter horses run one time and the thoroughbreds another time. So, but we're excited. It's been a long time coming.
20 plus years for you.
Raised a lot of babies.
Absolutely. I just wanted to just finish on an update on where the state is in this process. So again, it's been a year since legislation passed. And we were in Lincoln last week and met with the legislature as well as the Nebraska now Racing and Gaming Commission. And the formation of rules around casino gaming, they call them gaming rules, are a critical piece of this puzzle. Those rules were sent to the industry, and we were part of the industry that got to provide comments back to the state. We got to do that twice, which was really nice. We were thankful for that opportunity. And there will be now a public hearing that's been set for December 17th. So the Nebraska Racing and Gaming Commission is attempting to go through their process, release those rules to the public. They've said that could be as early as this Friday. That's the deadline they need to meet to keep the December 17th meeting in place. After that December 17th meeting, if the commission adopts those rules and doesn't make any widespread changes to those rules, then that goes through the state approval process, through the Attorney General's office, the PRO office, and ultimately those rules have to be signed by Governor Ricketts. And so nothing really we foresee, shouldn't say nothing, development of a casino in Nebraska in any city will not take place, in our opinion, until those rules are signed into law. At that point, that's when an operator will have the opportunity to build a casino at any of the 6 existing sites. As well as we think that process will need, those rules will at least need to be adopted before the commission will do a public hearing on the City of Gering application. So we have an official application in to the Nebraska Racing and Gaming Commission. There's really no activity on that until the commission has gone through the rulemaking process. So there will be a City of Gering public hearing. We're advocating that to be here and not in the eastern part of the state. We think that'd be important. And that'll be the opportunity for anyone that's here today and the community at large and elected officials and others to share their thoughts on why this project works for Gering. At that point, if and when that does get approved, that will be our launching point to be able to build a racetrack and casino, which could be a 12 plus month development process to build a project like this. In the interim, we continue to work with city administration garnered a CUP at this point in the city of Gering, and we're going to continue to go through the process with the city administration to ensure that should this project move forward, we have everything in order between the city and us as a developer. I think that concludes that. Obviously, my email and contact information there, as well as our public relations team, Kim Cook, who couldn't be here today. Media is welcome to contact either or both of us for follow-ups. But I thought I'd just open it up for Q&A, if that's okay, and there may not be any questions, but happy to take any at this time, or for the media, we can do interviews afterwards as well. I did that good? Really?
Work on the engineering study likely to wait until approval of a permit, or are you going to start that beforehand?
We are going to go ahead and start that process in terms of just the A&E work and the engineering study and traffic study for the site. We can only take that process so far before you start biting off on a large budget, at which point we would need assurance that this is going to move forward.
I'd just like to point out that certainly with horse racing, which obviously we're very excited about, but that'll be kind of a specialty seasonal work where people come in, but majority of the time there'll be full-time work for people.
Yep.
Like you said, indoors, non-smoking, that's pretty exciting for the city.
Absolutely. Anything else? Thank you all for being here.